to 6 feet of snow. ABC meteorologist Samara Theodore.
Lake effect snow warnings from Cleveland to Erie, right on into Buffalo. Just to give you perspective here, the water temperatures over these lakes are ranging between the 40s and about 50 degrees. So when we get that warm water and that air moving over it, that's when we start to see that lake effect snow turn on like a machine.
A meeting between President-elect Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last night. ABC's Jay O'Brien with the latest from Mar-a-Lago.
President-elect Donald Trump having an unannounced dinner at his Mar-a-Lago club with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Trudeau making that surprise trip to Florida after Trump threatened 25% sweeping across-the-board tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico until both countries stop what Trump claims is a flow of drugs and illegal migrants.
A surprise attack by rebels in Syria. Anti-government forces storming into the country's biggest city. It comes as two of Assad's main allies, Russia and Hezbollah, are busy fighting wars of their own. ABC's Ines de la Catera has more.
Russian state media is now reporting that Russian jets are fighting back, launching air raids in parts of Aleppo overnight. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says at least 287 people have been killed since the rebels' surprise offensive began.
President Volodymyr Zelensky telling Sky News Friday that NATO membership must be extended to Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. Zelensky, through a translator, saying joining NATO would quickly de-escalate the war with Russia.
The invitation must be given to Ukraine within its internationally recognized border. You can't give invitation to just one part of a country.
Black Friday shoppers spent a record $10.8 billion online yesterday. You're listening to ABC News.
KNWN Seattle, KNWN FM Oakville, and KPLC HD2 Seattle. News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. All news, all the time. On the Northwest's only all-news station.
I'm Mark Christopher, 902. Let's give you the latest in the 24/7 Northwest News Center. As I mentioned, talk shows today. Not an encore holiday for any of them. Rajiv Nagaich will be doing it live in the studio here with Aging Options here and talk about retirement and retirement planning in just a moment. Right now, let's share with you, it's a Small Biz Saturday. Hope as many neighborhood merchants near where you live are hoping that you'll stop by, spend some of your holiday money to support local business. And boy, is this important for many of these areas that were hit by the power outages thanks to a recent storm.
This Small Business Saturday is a chance to catch up.
Restaurants run on very tight profit margins, so 5 days of lost revenue, it definitely has a financial impact on the business.
Just coming down and seeing these huge trees.
Downtown at Experience Tea, owner Roberta Fuhr said it was a difficult time.
We depend on every day we're open.
She's glad the lights are back on and they're open, but admits they will need help from the community. Shopping local this weekend will be different.
We have not had weather closure down here in a very long time.
Como First Paul Rivera spending time in Issaquah, one of many areas, of course, with the power outages for days, losing out on some prime shopping days of merchants and customers, and they hope to make up for it here with Small Business Saturday. Boy, talk about a change in plan here. Stevens Pass, another one that's open now to skiers and snowboarders. Yesterday, starting an early season, a decent November snowfall, that's the reason.
Opening this weekend was a bit of a surprise and a very welcome surprise. Mother Nature is totally in charge, and we've had some really good snowfall the last couple weeks. We're very excited to be open in November.
General Manager Ellen Galbraith sharing there. The first runs opened yesterday to skiers and snowboarders about 9 a.m. Just a reminder, there's still early season signs here, so advanced and intermediate skiers and snowboarders likely. Starting December 7th, Stevens Pass will offer parking reservations, by the way, for visitors to reserve a space on weekends and peak days. Don't park on the shoulder of Highway 2. You will get towed. Checking on sports, we got a big one for the Huskies. What a way to finish regular season in Eugene to play number 1 Oregon in the Big Ten. Kickoff this afternoon at 4:30. Meanwhile, the bowl-bound Cougs looking to bounce back from back-to-back defeats in the last 2 weeks. Their opponent today here, a 2-9 Wyoming Cowboys, kickoff in Pullman at 3:30 this afternoon. Sounders today playing for a championship match. It's a Western Conference final. The winner plays for the MLS Cup next weekend. Apple TV Plus, 7 p.m. first kick to watch with Seattle at LA Galaxy. Seahawks on the road tomorrow, and they'll be there in East Rutherford to meet the Jets.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Smooth sailing on the major roadways around Seattle this morning. No problems on I-5 through downtown, either north or southbound. And you're also looking good on 405 on the east side of Lake Washington. And from one end to the other, not seeing any problems this morning. The biggest delays you'll see this morning are at the ferry terminals. Big-time backups approaching the Bainbridge Island terminal, as well as the terminal to get off of Whidbey Island back to Mukilteo. Also seeing some heavier than usual traffic at the Kingston Ferry terminal this morning to get back onto the east side of Puget Sound. Just keep that in mind this morning. It's going to be a very crowded ferry ride no matter which ferry you're taking for today and tomorrow. They're expecting 300,000 plus ferry riders over the holiday weekend, and a lot of those folks are going to be moving back eastbound towards Seattle between today and tomorrow. So you're going to have a lot of company there. Plan accordingly. Leave extra time if you're taking the ferries today or tomorrow. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
And the forecast we have, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Partly cloudy and dry conditions today and tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There is no rain in the forecast. Temperatures will be low to mid-40s. Cool overnight, temperatures in the 30s. Right now, we're at 37 here in Seattle at Northwest News Radio. I'm Mark Christopher. Good morning.
The following program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Radio management or staff.
Aging Options, how can we help?
It's time to know your options and master your future. My life, my plan, my way. LifePoint Law presents Aging Options with elder law attorney and life planning coach Rajiv Nagaich. Health, housing, finance, legal, and family. Know your options. Aging Options is not a law firm, but Rajiv is a lawyer. You should not reveal things you wish to keep confidential in this public setting. This program offers general advice. Having your questions answered does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. Contact your attorney or other professional to discuss your unique needs before taking any action related to the subjects discussed in this program. Now, here is nationally recognized retirement planning authority and host of national public television program, Master Your Future, Rajiv Nagaich.
Welcome, everybody, as we get ready for an hour that will change your way and thinking of retirement. It's Mark Christopher, producer for Rajiv Nagaich. And can I say a holiday weekend? This is not an encore show. This is not a repeat. He is live with us today here in this holiday weekend because it's that important to him to talk about retirement. For example, hospitals drop MA plans. Have you heard this? Last year we brought you the story that some healthcare providers are dropping Medicare Advantage. Well, guess what? Looks like the conflict is still happening. As open enrollment winds down, it's a cautionary tale for those on Medicare Advantage. Rajiv will explain. Open enrollment scams. We're talking about open enrollment, or a reminder to be extra vigilant here. Open enrollment is a target-rich environment for scammers who are out to steal your private information, and boy, are they getting creative. Debt consolidation, another article we want to share. The news is telling us that seniors are getting deeper and deeper into debt. Is a debt consolidation loan right for you is the question. And then which option is best? And above all, how can you change your financial strategy to get debt under control once and for all? Hang around for the hour and you'll find out and hear some ideas from Rajiv. And then protecting your pets. Your beloved pets are part of your family. Of course, if you're a solo senior, how can you make sure your four-legged friends or feathered friend are cared for after you pass away? And Rajiv's going to have one of those stories again of somebody we know very well that had something happen that wasn't totally planned, and it's affecting his health at this point. Now, I won't spoil that. Rajiv Nagaich, you've got a lot to share. We got seminars to talk about as well. Take a breath. You can now begin.
Oh, my God. I mean, there's so much to talk about today. And with the Medicare, the end date of Medicare, December 7th, fast approaching. If you have any inclination of making a change to your Medicare plan, go back from Medicare Advantage to traditional Medicare or the other way around, now is the time to take a look at all this stuff. And today we got two stories. The first one is coming on healthcare systems. Many healthcare systems are now starting to drop Medicare Advantage plans over payment disputes. I mean, what else would you expect, right? I mean, this is a story that you want to pay attention to. And in the middle of the year, typically, is when you may get a notice from your hospital that your hospital is not going to accept your Medicare Advantage plan. And if you're stuck in that plan, you will not have a choice at that point in time to change to a different plan that the hospital may actually approve or accept. And so now is the time to be looking at that stuff. And the big difference between Medicare Advantage, traditional Medicare. And another one, Medicare open enrollment brings out scammers. This is a story you want to pay attention to. If you have a parent who is aging, if you have anyone in your family who's over age 65, this is one that you want to pay attention to, because I promise you, people who get scammed, they seldom talk to anyone, even in the family. And so this happens quite a bit. So you want to pay attention to these two stories. And of course, you know, the other stories we were talking about, debt consolidation, pets. And Mark, you kind of teased about a story that was interesting to me. It's about Jay Leno having a fall, right?
I missed this one. I guess with the busy times of the holiday, and you tell us things happen to the unexpected.
It is. I mean, he was working in his garage as always, and he loves his cars and stuff. Had a burn accident, and he drove himself, according to reports, to the hospital. And at the same time, you know, the story, the reason why this catches my eye is not so much that Jay Leno ends up in the hospital, but Jay is also taking care of his wife of 44 plus years who has dementia. And what impact does that have on his wife who's taking care of her? All these kinds of issues that come up. And the story that came on my radar was more about Mavis Leno, his wife, more about than Jay Leno. And she, of course, is still able to somewhat take care of herself. She ends up in the hospital with some people helping her and all that. But the issue that it brings to the forefront is, what is your contingency plans? Look, accidents don't happen with an appointment on your calendar. They happen when they do. And how is this going to impact the people that you are caring for if you happen to be a caregiver? What is your backup plan? What do you do? That's what we talk about at Aging Options. If you have any questions, we can certainly call and talk about all these things. But the best thing, Mark, we talk about these issues on the seminars that we have. We've got 3 of them coming up this coming week.
Yeah, in fact, go to the website. With the stories that we're discussing here this hour for Aging Options, you can read up more at the blog, lifepointlaw.com. You will bookmark it. You will make it a favorite website. There's so much on here. You'll see the dates that Rajiv's talking about here, where he gets out in the community, and for 90 minutes, he just sits and talks and shares and hears your questions, provides answers, and steering you in direction of how to plan a better retirement, because the cost of care can be shocking for one, and the cost of not planning is even greater. So December 3rd, Olympia's got a time set up at 6:30 p.m. for 90 minutes. December 5th, that'll be Thursday of next week. He'll be in Federal Way at 6:30, and then next Saturday, following the show, he's got another seminar planned here for you. Bring a friend, bring a co-worker, a neighbor. They're free to attend, 11:30. That's going to be in the SeaTac area, and you're going to hear more about these here through the hour. But again, get to know the website, lifepointlaw.com. And the phone number 2, because here's Rajiv. No appointment. You can call right now. Whatever you need and questions and answers, there's just somebody to push you in the right direction for your retirement. Dial right now at 206-421-1000. That's 206-421-1000. Rajiv, I'll leave you with a tease to get us to break.
Well, you know, we will, when we come back, I want to talk about the Medicare stories. The first one is talking about the Medicare Advantage plans that are now being rejected by many hospital systems. This happened right here in Washington more than a few times in the past few years. What should you worry about? And number 2 is the Medicare scams. When we come back, we'll talk about both those.
And again, one thing you learned listening to the show, no, there's no age requirement to call in with a question. You don't have to be already retired. You got a job? Then let's plan your retirement. 206-421-1000, or at least give you some ideas to get started or add to what you got. 206-421-1000. Don't go away.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. Learn more by going to AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal. Visit AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the portal.
Will the retirement plan you've created be enough to keep you in the home you know and love until the very end, even if your health fails along the way? For most of us, the answer is no. 70% of American retirees take their last breath in an institution. That's a terrible track record. If your goal is to stay in your home all the way to the end, your financial portfolio on its own won't deliver the results you want. Your estate plan, even your long-term care insurance policy can't deliver the results you need, but LifePoint Law's retirement planning seminars will. Learn how to create a plan for retirement built around your desire to age at home, no matter what happens. It's possible, and we can show you how.
There's a retirement planning seminar near you. Olympia on December 3rd, Federal Way December 5th, SeaTac December 7th. To register, visit lifepointlaw.com or call 253-838-3454. That's lifepointlaw.com or 253-838-3454.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Still a quiet morning across most of Seattle. No major problems on any of the major roadways this morning. You may have to detour a little bit tomorrow, though, because tomorrow is the marathon. We've got some street closures to tell you about. North Aurora is going to be closed north of Seattle Center up to Green Lake. That's going to be in place starting around 6:30 up until about 2:30 or so. Also, the express lanes of I-5 between downtown and the Ship Canal will be closed up until about noon or so, and the Montlake Bridge will be closed intermittently. It won't be a full closure, but they will close it as runners are crossing the bridge from around 7:30 to about 11:30 or so. Also, the westbound off-ramp from 520 to Montlake Boulevard will be shut down around those same times, about 7:30 to about 11:30 or so. Also, there will be some on and off closures throughout downtown and especially around Seattle Center most of the day, so keep those in mind as well. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
What we have for your weather forecast here for the weekend, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Partly cloudy conditions, no rain expected. Temperatures will be in the 40s, so on the cold side. And at night, low to mid 30s for temperatures. Right now in Seattle, 36 here as we continue Aging Options. You just went to school and had your afternoons free and your nights and your weekends, and boy, are you ready to get back to such freedom here. But then you have these responsibilities, like when it comes to a little bit of planning here with Medicare Advantage and getting that all set up. But then we're hearing some healthcare providers, as Rajiv shared a moment ago, dropping Medicare Advantage plans, something about payment disputes. There's so much we got to know, Rajiv. Help us out here.
You know, Mark, every year, almost every year, and this happens even when you're not with Medicare, hospitals and insurance companies, they get into tests with each other all the time. It's just like Dish TV. I don't know whether you remember that or not. Dish TV is going to have so many channels, and of course, some group, whether it's NBC or whether it's going to be ABC, they're having a dispute about how much money Dish TV is going to be paying these people, and they don't come to an accord, and all of a sudden you have this TV channel that you've been watching for years, and all of a sudden you cannot watch Saturday Night Live because this does not, Dish TV is no longer carrying NBC, okay? So similar things happen in the healthcare world. The problem is, in the healthcare world, it is really disruptive. If in the middle of the year, the hospital system decides they are not going to take, call it Primera, call it some company, and that's your insurance company. Now what do? Are you going to go see the doctor regardless and be out of network or have to pay privately? Well, that's the whole point of insurance, isn't it? To be able to gain access to health care if you were to fall ill without going broke. That's the whole point. Mm-hmm. And with the Medicare Advantage plans, because they have so much power to be able to negotiate, it's all about wrangling and positioning and all these ads about you buy this insurance policy, you live forever. They're just ads. In the real world, you have to kind of take a look at the stability and the size of the company, name of the company doesn't seem to matter. They're all companies who are fighting with each other. Now, compared to that, you've got the traditional Medicare plans. It is run by the government. When they come up with a payment scheme, it is seldom that the hospitals are going to be unhappy about the whole thing. Now, mind you, hospitals get 5% more, and the doctors, providers get 5% more under the Medicare Advantage plan than they get under the traditional Medicare plan.
Did not know that.
So you'd be thinking that hospitals and doctors would be just clamoring and saying, oh, we don't want traditional Medicare, and that's true. They don't want Medicare, traditional Medicare, till Medicare Advantage stops paying them or starts disputing half the bloody claims that are coming in. And the government is paying them more. So think about this one. This is a great story. Look, I mean, if you are in Medicare, you want to take a look at the story, and you have to ask yourself, do you want the stability? And if you want the stability and the predictability that the plan will be there when you need to use it, probably you should consider a traditional Medicare plan, which is a Medigap plan. And if you're going to be looking for a Medigap plan, you have all sorts of options out there. They're a little bit more expensive. The downside of a traditional Medicare plan, they're a little bit more expensive compared to Medicare Advantage plans. And number two, most of them will not have vision, hearing, or dental, which Medicare Advantage plans are going to throw in just as an enticement to bring you into the Medicare Advantage world. So many years ago when we started off this Medicare Advantage world, we were thinking, well, it'll take many years for the people to switch over to Medicare Advantage. Today, over half the consumers are in Medicare Advantage plans. And the whole mess, the reason why we regulated this industry, the whole reason why we did that is there's so much confusion about Medicare health insurance plans is back again. Yeah. I mean, today it's almost impossible to go ahead and shop with confidence and know what are the differences between one plan and the other plan. And they're all just a bunch of confusion. Anyway, so if you have any questions, by the way, if you're looking at Medicare, if you're not sure which way you should go, give us a call. I can certainly talk to you and we can put you in the right direction. 206-421-1000. 206-421-1000.
Yeah, he loves the questions too. And one I have is I'm always wondering, Rajiv, like, can I go like from one to the other? And if one doesn't work out, can I go back to the old one when it comes to Medicare?
Yeah, and you know that's an important question to be asking. The short answer is traditional Medicare is guaranteed insurability when you first become eligible for it.
Okay.
But if you miss out on that and you go down to the Medicare Advantage route, because that'll be cheaper, I want to get into a zero premium plan. I don't use health insurance. And so why do I want to go ahead and pay any premiums? You get into Medicare Advantage. Mm-hmm. And then you have a health episode. Let's say you have a heart attack. You have a diagnosis of cancer, dementia, something. And now you're starting to use healthcare a whole lot more. And you're finding out, well, you know, traditional Medicare would be a lot cheaper at this point in time.
I can't say it enough that the website to hear about more of these topics that he's sharing here and read the articles that Tony put together, our executive producer. You can go to lifepointlaw.com, click on the blog and read more. That's lifepointlaw.com. A lot of things here. Open enrollment scams you said you're going to touch on. Debt consolidation, Rajiv. There's just every week so much to learn here about retirement planning.
And when we come back, we'll talk about that debt consolidation issue. That's another issue that seniors, more and more seniors who are getting into retirement with a lot of debt, they're looking at options. And what is not covered in this topic is what I want to cover up here, which is the favorite subject of how the heck does a reverse mortgage work? And is that something I should even look at? Who is this product right for? And who will it come to burn? We'll talk about that when we come back.
So it's a little more than a celebrity we all know on TV. Okay. 206-421-1000. You got questions, and Rajiv's here to help you out with answers here. Aging Options, all about planning retirement or adding to what you got in mind here, or if you just want to go over a couple of items you've heard from family and friends. Is it right? Is it wrong? You can find out right here. Also the website, lifepointlaw.com. Now, seminars coming up next week. Tuesday, December 5th, Federal Way. Thursday, he'll be at CTAC. And then on Saturday, Saturday he'll be at CTAC. Here we had Thursday, Federal Way. And then Tuesday, I want to mention, that's going to be the next one. Boy, convenient for you in Olympia. For more details about these fresh seminars to discuss your retirement, go to lifepointlaw.com and click on events. Hang on.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
So far, so good across the area. No problems on any of the major roadways this morning. If you're heading out to do some Saturday morning shopping, you won't have much company on the roadways. I-5, both north and southbound through downtown Seattle, not quite as busy as usual for this time of a Saturday morning. You're in good shape and won't have to come off the gas at all as you move through downtown in either direction. If you're heading to SeaTac this morning, either to pick someone up or to head back home, depending on where you're heading after the holiday weekend. Once you get on the airport property, you definitely going to have a lot of company with you. There's a lot of traffic trying to get to those terminal buildings, but getting to the airport itself won't be an issue. A lot of traffic once you get there, but trying to actually get to the airport on I-5 or on 405 won't be an issue for you this morning. Heading into the Cascades, everything looks good on both I-90 and Highway 2. Not seeing any problems at the passes themselves. Snoqualmie, Stevens, and White Pass all reporting clear and dry conditions with no snow to tell you about, and that's good news. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
And a forecast for the weekend here. No rain to talk about here as we look at the next several days. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 40s. Latest update from Northwest Crawl Space Services here. Temperatures will be in mid to upper 40s. Overnight lows in the 30s. No rain till maybe Thursday of the coming week. Enjoy. Temperature right now in Seattle, though, we got partly sunny skies, a bit of sun ray or two. It's 36 here at Northwest News. In fact, she'll start right now. If you got a question, call 206-421-1000. Ask any questions, anything about retirement, no matter what your age. Basically, if you got a job, you're ready to start planning. Rajiv Nagaich, debt consolidation, and everybody asking about these reverse mortgages to access money. Is it free? Are they going to take my house and I'm no longer here? A lot of confusion. But maybe one way to pay off some things unexpectedly that pop up in life. What do you say?
You know, and there's a lot in the news, Mark, about us, the boomers, going into retirement with a lot more debt than our parents did. And that's not really in the cards for anyone. It makes life really difficult. And so constantly people are trying to juggle. What do we end up doing? And this article does, I think, a reasonable job of looking at debt in different categories. It's talking about, do you have credit card debt, in which case you may want to think about a zero interest credit card to maybe pay things down. The second thing it talks about, maybe you get a line of credit to go ahead and pay down the debt. But of course, you're putting your house in jeopardy up there. The other one is just simply do better debt management, is to try and see if you can take a second job and pay this thing off, and once you pay it off, don't get back in debt, etc. The article doesn't talk about two different issues. But from a legal perspective, of course, as a lawyer, I'm always looking at the issue about bankruptcy. At some point in time, can you eliminate the debt by declaring bankruptcy and regaining your life and getting control over amount of money? And the answer is yeah. It's not for everyone, but certainly it is if your debt has got you to a point where it just is untenable, then bankruptcy is a good option for a lot of people. Look, I mean, businesses use bankruptcy on a regular basis. You hear about large business chains who've made millions and millions of dollars on a yearly basis, and they go bankrupt. And they don't necessarily go out of business. They just go ahead and wipe out all the debt and they start over again. So that is an option. And the other option that I take a look at is the reverse mortgage option. Is if you're over the age of 62 in America, everyone who is over the age of 62 has the ability to go ahead and get a reverse mortgage. Now, it's not nearly as attractive as it used to be at one point in time, where you could just easily get into it. It still does not require any credit history on your part. And if you have bad credit, it's a government-issued mortgage, and therefore you will be able to get it. And typically, it used to be in the good old days, you could get at least 50% of the equity in the home you could take out by way of a reverse mortgage. And the benefit, of course, is you take the mortgage, you pay off all your debt, and you don't have to make a monthly payment to the mortgage company as long as you're living in the house. So this is an option that you ought to be looking at, but only if this is the last place that you're going to go. Reverse mortgages, pretty expensive to get into. I mean, they're not cheap to get into. They're into these coverages because the government guarantees it that as long as you're living, you will not have to worry about making a payment. So they're expensive to get into, and you're also eating up the last place probably you have equity. So you got lots of options up there. Again, you know, there's not one way that to solve any of the problems. There are many different ways to do it. Good article to take a look at if you're in that situation. Mark?
Okay, and these articles and the topics that Rajiv shares, of course, how can you cover it all within an hour? Yeah, it gets tough to do. So the backup is you can go to lifepointlaw.com, click on the blog, read more into the articles, and then get a need to maybe have a question, and then you can dial and have a look and have a listen here, as Rajiv is right here for you every Saturday from 9 to 10 with Aging Options here, helping you plan your retirement here. 206-421-1000. That's the phone number we have for you here at Northwest News for Aging Options, 206-421-1000. Along the way, we got traffic and weather. We have headlines and news for you, top of the bottom of the hour. A quick break. You think about that question, and then you can dial. We'll be right back. 206-421-1000. Hang on.
The News Watch never stops. News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000.
The Northwest's only all-news station.
Time right now, it's 9:30. Temperature in Seattle, 36.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Lake effect snow prompting winter alerts across 5 states this weekend, with 3 to 5 feet of snow expected in some areas on the eastern shores of the Great Lakes through Monday. Erie County Executive Mark Pollinkerts.
Extreme means it will be exceptionally dangerous travel. There will be blizzard-like conditions.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with President-elect Donald Trump in Florida Friday after Trump threatened to impose 25% tariffs on products from Canada and Mexico. Trudeau called it a good meeting as he left Florida this morning.
It was an excellent conversation.
Trudeau is the first leader from the G7 nations to meet with Trump since the election. Israeli Defense Forces reporting 4 more airstrikes in Lebanon today, despite a ceasefire with Hezbollah. All targeted Hezbollah-linked sites believed to involve weapons activity, though Hezbollah hasn't fired since the ceasefire began. This is ABC News.
97.7 FM and AM 1000. All news, all the time. For Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, and beyond. The Northwest's only all-news station.
We'll continue with Aging Options live in the studio with host Rajiv Nagaich. Right now, I'm Mark Christopher. Latest stories we have in the 24/7 Northwest News Center. Investigators working a case of a shooting in Federal Way. A 15-year-old was hospitalized after being shot in Federal Way yesterday. Police responding to the call at about 4:15 at the site of 1800 South 281st Street Place. Police arriving, finding a 15-year-old boy had been shot shortly after leaving his home. The area was secured right away. The victim received medical assistance before being transported with non-life-threatening injuries to a nearby hospital. Police saying the victim was uncooperative and only described the suspects as being one black male and one white male. Good times in downtown Seattle. Official Christmas tree lighting. We'll have more on that. But Black Friday shopping at the U Village Apple Store was disrupted by protesters advocating for Palestinian and Democratic Republic of Congo causes. The group accused the company of complicity in what they described as genocide and child labor abuse. The store was ultimately closed to shoppers, with few protesters remaining inside. Police issued trespass warnings. It's unclear if there were any arrests. Police said several demonstrators then left, but a few lingered behind, but then eventually left. Shelters are open right now all around the region. The cold temperatures, of course, 2 of which our news partner, Como News, went and had a visit here. That's the Salvation Army's Sodo shelter off of 6th Avenue South, where they've been preparing meals right there and helping people with a warm place to stay overnight. They said about 35 adults can stay at this location, which will be open during the overnight hours through the weekend. The other one getting quite busy is a Lakefront Community House on North 130th off Aurora Avenue North in North Seattle. Turns out more than 400 homeless people died last year here, we're told, in the cold. Check out on sports. Game time later on today, 4:30. One more big one, and it's a dandy. For the Huskies, is there against number 1 Oregon in Eugene. Kickoff of that game at 4:30. Cougars will go against the Wyoming Cowboys. Kickoff in Pullman at 3:30 this afternoon. The Sounders and LA Galaxy. This is all for a chance to go after the MLS Cup next weekend. They'll be on 7 p.m. tonight. And Apple TV Plus, I heard, have coverage on that. The Kraken, 2 losses in a row now. They had the Sharks lost last night, 8-5. They play with San Jose here at home tonight at 7 p.m. And then you got the Seahawks, early one tomorrow, 10 a.m., as they are at MetLife Stadium to meet up with the Jets. We got traffic for you.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
So far, so good across the area. No problems on any of the major roadways this morning. If you're heading out to do some Saturday morning shopping, you won't have much company on the roadways. I-5, both north and southbound through downtown Seattle, not quite as busy as usual for this time of a Saturday morning. You're in good shape and won't have to come off the gas at all as you move through downtown in either direction. If you're heading to SeaTac this morning, either to pick someone up or to head back home, depending on where you're heading after the holiday weekend, once you get on the airport property, you definitely going to have a lot of company with you. There's a lot of traffic trying to get to those terminal buildings, but getting to the airport itself won't be an issue. A lot of traffic once you get there, but trying to actually get to the airport on I-5 or on 405 won't be an issue for you this morning. Heading into the Cascades, everything looks good on both I-90 and Highway 2. Not seeing any problems at the passes themselves. Snoqualmie, Stevens, and White Pass all reporting clear and dry conditions with no snow to tell you about, and that's good news. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
All right, thank you, Brian. Let's get to Theron's on the Como TV here in the Como Weather Center weather forecast for the weekend, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
This morning we have some low clouds and fog in places, then we're moving on to partly sunny skies. Highs today mid to upper 40s. Over the next couple days, generally dry. After a few sprinkles near the Canadian border today, we're all dry on Sunday, and partly sunny skies for the latter half of the weekend. Temperatures mid to upper 40s tomorrow, and then morning clouds, afternoon sun for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. In the Como Weather Center, I'm Theron's on Como News.
We got partly cloudy conditions working our way here in downtown Seattle. The temperature 37. Hi, Mark Christopher, Northwest News Radio. Adding to the fun that you already have creative here, and that's the key word. Your retirement should be fun. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be a nightmare. But if you listen to this show, sometimes you'll hear so many things brought up going, I never knew. I never thought of that. That's why another big part of it is these seminars that Rajiv Nagaich, your host of Aging Options, puts together each and every month to come and visit and ask questions to get some ideas. And Rajiv, it's like the new car effect. You're my new car. As producer of the show Aging Options, suddenly I'm running into people in retirement with situations like you were sharing earlier with Jay Leno, who's in the hospital with a little bit of a burn accident. He's been taking care of his wife as a care provider. And I run into somebody this week who's been taking care of their spouse with dementia. And did you get any help? No, I can't afford it. I don't have any resources. Is this a reason to go to one of your seminars like the three you have coming up this next week?
Could be any number of reasons. I think the main thing, there are two reasons why I think you want to take a look at it. Either you're thinking about retirement in your own life and you're thinking, where do I start? I get a lot of information. I'm bombarded by information. I would like to have some clarity as to what my first step is, what my next step is. Come to the seminar and lay it out for you. And what I lay out for you is that the information that we get from various different industries, with the health, the housing, the financial, the legal industry, they all are well-meaning piece of advice that we end up getting. But when you take a look at it, they don't necessarily work together. 70% of Americans in retirement not being able to live out their lives at home is a reason why you need to start looking at the information you're working with a little differently. What am I missing? What is the industry not telling me? What do I need to do different? Now, the second thing is, if you're dealing with a parent, right? I mean, if you got somebody in your life who's not doing well, and you know that you're going to get sucked into that vortex, whether you like it or not. If you got a parent, if you got a loved one who is not doing well, or they're aging and they're about not to do well, they don't want to talk to you about the whole thing, you still have a need to organize yourself. What will your first step be when that call comes? Those are the two compelling reasons, I think, why you need to come to a seminar. Give me about an hour and a half, and I will give you a much better future to work with.
And these are free to attend. Have a look at lifepointlaw.com. Click on events. You'll see he's got one set up coming up here in Olympia at 6:30. Again, 90 minutes. These are free. Bring a friend, a neighbor there, and go here and ask your questions. At least get something written down here, and it'll be an wow experience. If that doesn't work, Thursday, that'll be December 5th. He's going to be in Federal Way at 6:30 p.m. again for 90 minutes. And then he's got one for next Saturday right after the show here. He's going to be in the SeaTac area there at 11:30. Again, go to lifepointlaw.com, click on events. You'll register so he gets an idea of how many people are showing up. But it'll be an experience. You'll have, I'm going to say it, a good time because you're going to get answers to retirement here. And what better than a guy that you can find right here on radio then to back it all up from 9 to 10 every Saturday here with Aging Options. And every week, Rajiv's right here with finding articles with his producer, Tony, and just getting some subjects, which, again, you can read more about it by going to the blog page at lifepointlaw.com. Protecting your pets, that's another one you tossed out here as we teased the show and what was going on.
You know, that's basic estate planning. We think about, and the most common gut reaction we get about when we're doing estate planning is, how do I make it easier for my loved ones when I pass away? And do I need a power of attorney? If so, what kind? But the details, and one of the biggest omissions people end up making when they're doing estate planning is many of us will not make clear directions or provisions for our four-legged furry friends. Right? That's what Bob Pittman used to call them, four-legged fuzzy friends. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the pets, I think it's so important to understand. I mean, these pets are your life. You have them in your life for a particular reason. But how do you plan for them? And the article goes into some basics of what planning is all about. And the planning is going to be whether you do a pet trust. That's one of the most common things that you can end up doing. Doesn't need to be a standalone trust. You're writing a will and you're saying, when I die, I want this to happen. And in that will, you create a pet trust and say, oh, by the way, I happen to have a parrot. A couple of clients of mine have parrots, and they are very long-lived, 80 years, 90 years.
I hear you on the pet and the parrot thing. There's a lot of people in the Northwest.
Right.
Okay.
Horses, right? I mean, those are ones. Dogs and cats. I mean, those are the most common ones that we have. Who will take custody of them? And who will be taking care of them? And talking about Jay Leno, not only do you need to worry about who will be taking care of these pets after you pass away, But what happens if you become incapacitated?
And real quick, tell what happened to Jay Leno here recent days.
Well, Jay Leno actually he had an accident. He was working on one of his many automobiles, and he got burnt. Right, there was a fire that happened, and he got burnt. And when he got burnt, he went to the hospital. His wife has dementia, or at least in the beginnings of dementia, and he is hovering and taking care of her. So what is the backup plan? That's the story that came out, that there was a lot of disruption that happened because this thing happened at the last minute. And I'm saying, oh my God, how many times do we have to hear this narrative?
Right.
Casey Kasem, Tim Conway, Glenn Campbell, all people, Jay Leno, we got all sorts of money, but what is the plan behind the whole thing? Now, I don't know much about the Jay Leno, what he has by way of plans. I would hope that he's got all this thing in place. But then why is the story out there saying that, what's happening with his wife and stuff? So I don't know the whole story behind the whole thing, but just reminds you about the little things that we don't plan around. We do bigger planning, but the little practical things that we need to plan around, we don't get around to them. We got Tom calling from Seattle about Medicare. Tom, welcome to Aging Options. What's on your mind?
Well, thanks. Well, what I'm wondering about is I'm a 100% disabled veteran, but I have Medicare, this traditional Medicare, and I pay the Medigap insurance policy that covers the 20% that Medicare doesn't. Because I'm a disabled vet with 100% disability, the VA pays all medical care for me. Should I continue keeping the Medicare situation the way it is and paying the insurance, the Medigap insurance?
Right, Tom, and what a great question this is. This comes in a lot of different varieties, and I know we are running up a break. I don't want to go ahead and leave you hanging and give you a short answer, so hang in there. When we come back, I'll get to your question. Should you continue to keep your Medicare coverage when you know the VA covers 100% of your bills? We'll come back and talk about that right after the break.
Thank you.
Tom, you're going to hear a click or two. Don't hang up. It's just me making sure you don't go away. We want to hear the answer on this one here. Aging Options every Saturday from 9 to 10. Questions? You got time. 206-421-1000. Hang on.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. For more great articles to help guide your future, go to AgingOptions.com. That's AgingOptions.com and select blogs under the Free Learning Center tab. AgingOptions.com.
My wife and I just retired. We thought we were set, but then I started wondering, we want to live at home until the end. Is that even possible? We know retirees who've been forced to move into institutional care. My uncle wanted to age at home, but his family moved him into a nursing home after a health crisis, even though he had plenty of money to get care at home. I was concerned about this, so my wife and I went to a free retirement planning seminar with elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich. I'm so glad we did. Now we have a solid plan for retirement built around our goal to live out our lives at home, even if our health fails. It's a huge relief.
There's a retirement planning seminar near you. Olympia on December 3rd, Federal Way December 5th, SeaTac December 7th. To register, visit lifepointlaw.com or call 253-838-3454. That's lifepointlaw.com, 253-838-3454.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
The freeways around the area don't look too bad this morning. Everything's running up to speed there. The ferries are another story. They're all running on time. That's not the issue, but the issue is how many people are on them when they're running on time, because they are extremely crowded this morning. We're expecting that to continue. That heavy volume on the ferries is going to be a thing all day today as well as all day tomorrow. We're seeing much heavier volume and much heavier backups than usual, especially right now at the Bainbridge Island Terminal as well as the Kingston Terminal. If you're heading eastbound back over to Seattle from the peninsula or from the islands, you want to plan accordingly. It is going to take you longer than you expect to get back across Puget Sound this morning, and it's going to take even longer later today. So you want to make sure you leave yourself enough time. If you're trying to get back over to hit a specific time on this side of the Sound, you're going to have to leave yourself a lot of extra time, because if you're going to take a ferry, you're going to have a lot of people with you. Those ferries are going to be very crowded the remainder of the weekend. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
As we Speaking of crowds, we have Seattle Marathon tomorrow here since 1970. Early hours around the Seattle Center, we'll say about 7 a.m. Things will start getting busy here, so keep that in mind. Weather-wise, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Cold temperatures overnight will be in the 30s. Daytime highs in the 40s. Partly cloudy skies. No rain expected. We continue Aging Options right now here at Northwest News Radio with your host, Rajiv Nagaich, who's busy with a question that Tom has called in to ask about. Rajiv.
Hey, Tom, back to you again. So let me just recap the question. You're a 100% disabled veteran. You receive all your medical services through the VA system. You don't generally necessarily need to be outside of the VA system. They cover everything. And your question is, I have a Medicare supplement plan, a Medigap plan. Should I keep it or should I save money and drop out of that plan? Say again.
That is the question, yes.
Yeah. And so the short answer to that one is there is no law that says that you have to keep the coverage. And if you want to go ahead and really save money, you could do that. But here's a caution that I'll give you. Even the VA system itself, when you go to their website and you're looking at what advice do they give, and I've talked to plenty of VA professionals about this issue, they'll always say that if you can afford to keep the Medicare plan, you keep it. And the single biggest reason is because the VA system is totally dependent on Congress doing its job and keeping the thing funded. And in the past, they've increased coverage, they have decreased coverage. They've been in and out of what they're going to cover in the VA system, what they're not going to cover. So if you're absolutely going to want to make sure that the rest of my life, no matter what happens, I need to have quality health care, then you probably want to go ahead and keep this coverage. The second reason is in my own practice, I've had a few of my clients who are veterans relying on the VA system, but in an emergency or in some situation, they ended up in a hospital that is not the VA system hospital. Or the ambulance came and you could not self-advocate for yourself and they take you down to the local hospital. Now, technically, the VA system is going to cover emergency care in a private system, even if you had to cover that. But define what is an emergency. Define as to what the requirements are that need to happen. The short answer, Tom, to you would be, I think you should be okay dropping the coverage if you want to, but that's not what the VA is going to advise you to do, nor is it something that I'm going to advise you to do. You have to take a look at your finances. If you can financially afford to pay the premium, I would strongly recommend that you pay the premium and keep it. And if you're struggling with the premium part of things, then you can get into a zero premium Medicare Advantage plan. Not, again, my best recommendation for people, but if you're financially strapped and saying, I need to cut corners, I need to save $100, $200 on a monthly basis, then that would be one place you can do it by going to Medicare Advantage. That way, if you get stuck in the private hospital system, you still have Medicare covering. And after your maximum out-of-pocket is about $7,500, and then after that, even the Medicare Advantage plan will cover 100% of your bills. So that's the way that I would approach it. Hope that makes sense.
Could I say something?
Yeah, of course.
The VA, if you go to a private hospital and you call, and you or a caregiver calls within 72 hours, there's a specific number for it. You get authorization for it.
Correct.
It's automatic. And then they pay the private hospital.
Correct. They pay it today if it's emergency care. Tom, be sure that you're... Go ahead.
No. Depends on where the hospital is located, distance from you. And so you may not be able to get to a VA hospital,
exactly,
which I've had that experience,
yes,
and because it's too far away. For example, if you're in Northern California area, there's a VA hospital in Portland, there's one in San Francisco, there's one in a couple of other places, but they have no real hospitals. So they will cover that hospital.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I'm not here to debate that point. Again, what you just described is what they called as an emergency. It's too far for you to get to the VA, therefore we'll go ahead and cover that. But I am always suspicious about where the government is going. Today we have the funding, well, tomorrow will I have the funding? If you can financially afford to keep the policy, I would say try and keep it. If you need to cut down on the premiums, at least keep a Medicare Advantage plan. That way, the only thing you're paying is their Medicare. But if you want to drop it and you're 100% sure you can get the VA system and you're in a suburban area, then I suppose you may be okay without a Medicare plan, because the VA does, in my opinion, a pretty darn decent job taking care of veterans.
So getting back to the seminars that you're hosting here next week, this is another reason one like Tom would come to the seminar, be able to ask the questions, get into more discussion here. Rajiv, there's just so much here. What else would you suggest, maybe as a feather, saying, here's the reason you should go to one of these seminars, whether it's going to be at Olympia, Tuesday, Federal Way, Thursday, or next Saturday following the show at SeaTac? What do you bring to it that just, well, first of all, it's free for 90 minutes. Bring a friend, a coworker, or somebody from the neighborhood. But what fun are we having at these seminars?
I think the point of the seminar is just expanding on what Tom is asking about, right? He's asking about the health insurance question, which is a really important question. Why this is time that he is saying, I've got double coverage at this point of time effectively here. Does it make sense for us to keep paying the premiums when I have double coverage? And my answer would be, if you look back at that and think about it a little bit deeper, what's the point of health insurance? So I can stay as healthy as I can, as long as I can. But if I fall ill, I need to be able to access health care. Look at the rest of your life and say, is that the only thing that you should worry about, is having good health care? And my answer would be probably not. I think the average consumer is going to say that, no, what I want to go ahead and have happen is I want to live a long, healthy life without the fear of being put into a nursing home, becoming a burden to other people, or dying broke. Right? So when we are looking at what I call micro issues like health insurance, or how am I investing money? Should I have a will? Should I have a trust? Should I have a power of attorney? Individually, singularly, you have to ask yourself, do these simple, narrow questions give you the broader answers that you need to be looking for? Which is, do I really have a plan? If today I end up in the hospital and they say, which rehab center do you want to go to? Are you okay going to a rehab center, or would you prefer to come back home? That's going to be the issue. Let's go to Karen, who's in Seattle. Karen, welcome to Aging Options. How can I help?
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Mm-hmm. I've got a question, and I'm hoping you can help me understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. My husband retired from a major company in the area about 10 years ago, and we kept paying the insurance that he had through the company. Mm-hmm. For our supplemental Medicare. Even though it was pretty expensive, we thought it was good mm-hmm. to have it. Mm-hmm. Recently, the company changed to another insurance provider, mm-hmm. and we've noticed now the billing has changed, and always before, Medicare would be charged first, because that was our primary, and the other insurance was our supplemental, and it would pick up at that point. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, we started getting billed directly from the the new insurance company that the big company switched to. And we even had to work to get Medicare to come back in, because they were charging the insurance company first, and which was a much higher bill portion for us. Anyway, when I have talked to them recently, they said this large insurance company has merged with Medicare, and they are now all handling the Medicare, excuse me, it's the hospital system that said that, okay. that the insurance company has merged with Medicare.
Okay.
I don't understand what's happening.
Karen, hold on. We are going to a break. When we come back, I'll go ahead and give you an answer to that one.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Well, it took a little while, but we've got our first wreck of the morning. This is northbound on I-5 just after I-90. Left shoulder blocked with a little fender bender there that's kind of squeezing you in that left lane. Stay over to the right. You should be able to get by, but you will come off the gas as you move under I-90 heading up towards Seneca Street right now. This is the usual spot where it slows down this time of morning, so nothing unusual for this time of day. Just stay over to the right. You should be able to get by just fine. Southbound traffic on I-5 through downtown looks fine as you head down towards SeaTac. You should be in pretty good shape. It is definitely getting more crowded now at the airport. Not so much getting to the airport, but once you get onto the property, there's a lot of brake lights between you and the terminal once you get onto the airport property. So plan accordingly if you're going there to pick someone up or you're dropping someone off to head back home after the holiday weekend. Elsewhere, the major roadways look good around the area. Both bridges crossing Lake Washington look fine, and 405 is running fine in both directions. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
Forecast sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. is partly cloudy skies for the weekend. Temperatures in the 40s, overnight lows 30s, and maybe some fog in the early morning hours. Golden years, retirement, supposed to be fun, not complicated. But boy, Karen's getting a little complicated and lost here in Medicare insurance. Let's continue the conversation here with Rajiv and Karen. Rajiv.
Thank you, Karen, for the call. Let me just summarize. We just got a couple of minutes, and I'll try and give you an answer. If this doesn't work, email me at radio@agingoptions.com, and I can give you a more complete answer. Your issue really is you had a employer-covered supplemental plan at one time, which worked like the charm. The company changed plans, and now under the new plan, you're paying a whole lot more out of your pocket, and the hospital system is telling you that the Medicare system, the health insurance company has merged with Medicare. The short answer is there is no such thing as an insurance company merging with Medicare. Medicare is the foundational plan. All the insurance companies are going to do is to cover things that the government will allow them to cover within the strictures of Medicare. I think you're in a situation where you really need to be shopping insurance at this point of time. Gone are the days that you could go and say, Boeing, Microsoft, they do a great job taking care of their employees. Today, the honest truth is every company is looking to minimize or lower their cost on healthcare if they possibly can, which only means one thing. You and I as a consumer are going to pay a whole lot more. Karen, hold on. Don't go away. I'll probably talk to you off the air about that. And to the rest of you, I'd say, if you get a chance, go down to the seminar. At least start looking at broader issues rather than just micro issues, even though they're important. And till next week or till the next seminar, Age on.
Yeah, lifepointlaw.com for